Dr. Folio is a senior research physician and the lead computed tomography radiologist at NIH Clinical Center. He will provide an overview of our radiology preprocessing (RP) integrated workflow curriculum that includes image acquisition such as computed tomography or CT and PACS, otherwise known as Picture Archiving and Communication Systems. PACS is used to view medical images and includes highly advanced processing tools that produce multiplanar reformation, 3D imaging, and lesion management applications.
So I'm Dr. Folio. I'm the lead CT radiologist here at the NIH Clinical Center. As you can see, we designed this area to be spacious. This is the main working area of CT for the technologists. We'll walk into one of the CT rooms. We've got two going right now. So here's one that happens to be empty. So this is a CT, or computed tomography. And within here, there are two X-ray tubes in this particular case with detectors on the opposite side and spinning very quickly. So when the patient goes in, first we obtain a scout, and then from that information, we then range what part we want to image. And as the patient moves through the table and this is spinning, it ends up creating a spiral like a slinky. And then that data is processed into axial image data. Sometimes we push it as coronals. We don't need to here because we can process on the PACS. So there's two X-ray tubes in each of the scanners. Here's one of them. X-ray beams come out in a fan-like manner and they hit a detector. And that's over here.
The X-rays are collimated by these very fine anti-scatter 3D grids that allow only the straightest X-rays to strike what Siemens refers to as the ultra-fast ceramic that converts the collimated X-rays into light known as scintillation. Those fine resultant light particles are sensed by the photodiode that converts them into signals by the hundreds of individual microprocessors and the detection models that create the images that I will show you. Now that we've seen the basics of how a CT works, we'll walk into the
IV area, where we just walk through the CT waiting area. After the general waiting area, you saw the fishbowl here, where is the center of control, and is where we place the IVs in the patients before they have their CT for the IV contrast. So now we're in the CT consult or consult reading area, where we've got our workstation, very powerful. They don't all have to be this powerful, but this is fairly typical. So for the RP course, radiology preprocessing course, you're here now. This is the part. The modality overview talks about other modalities besides CT, talks about X-ray, nuclear medicine, ultrasound, and where we are here is CT tomography basics. So now that we've seen the CT scanner itself, the working area, the waiting areas, both oral contrast waiting, IV contrast, that process. Also talking about the CT basics, just touching on it, but here's where we are in the radiology preprocessing course. There's much more detail on this kind of description, for example, but good to discuss while we're here, to look at how the CT machine has two X-ray tubes that are projecting beams to the detectors, which are spinning around at a very fast rate. Then, as the patient moves through, creates a spiral acquisition of the data, which is then processed into axial slices, typically, which we can also push as coronal or process into sagittal or the other fancy multiplanar volume rendered, these types of things. But as they get into PACS, it goes into RIS as well. Pretty much picture archiving communication system and radiology information systems, where then we're viewing in PACS, which we've seen here.